In this video, I'll be taking you over my shoulder and behind the scenes as I mix the demo version of my new song here in GarageBand. Let's go! Hi, my name is Pete and welcome to Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record and release your best music. We do that through tips, tricks, tutorials and videos just like this one. If that's your bag, consider subscribing. This one is going to be a wee bit different, so I'm warning you right up front that we're going to go in depth here. It's going to be a longer form video and I'm going to take you behind the scenes of my thought process as I bring all of these wonderful colorful tracks together into a demo version of my new song for Songtember. So if that sounds like something that you're in for, then hang around. If not, if you want something quicker and more to the point, check out the description and the links up there and down there. There's more videos. You can check out my GarageBand Essentials playlist, which has a bunch of videos that can get you up and running. But if you've been grappling with GarageBand for a while and you want to maybe get a few of those little hints and tips that might help you with your mixing process, stick around. Let's dive in. So there you go, all the warnings out of the way. Let's get in and take a look at this. So if you've been following along, this is my Songtember song. Up the top here is some bass guitar and some drum tracks. So this is sort of what I recorded very early on. And you can see this is where I have my song section. So I've left these in here, even though I'm not using them anymore. They're kind of nice placeholders for all of my song sections that we have here. However, a lot of this stuff can go. So let's get rid of this one. We'll do a bit of tidying up here. We'll delete that track there. It's definitely not being used. Darcy, our drummer here, we don't really need her in the action anymore, apart from a little section down here I'll show you in a minute, so we'll delete her out too. By the way, before you start doing this, should have showed you this up front, we'll come out of here. What I have done before I started this is you can see here I've got my version control, yeah? So we're version 5, version 6, version 7. I'm here in version 7 of this track. So I'm going to open this one up. I do recommend you duplicate. Oh, should have shown you that. You duplicate by coming here, tapping the select button, tapping on that one, and then hitting duplicate. And that will help you make sure that you keep your version control and your backups so that you don't lose any of that valuable mixing work. But let's jump in to this one here. So we've just done that little bit of cleaning up. We'll do the same here with this vocal. This vocal doesn't require being there anymore. That was a scratch vocal, but we will leave this my original bass because I got some ideas and some concepts in there, as well as that original guitar for those song sections. What we have here now is we have our lead vocal section here. In fact, that might actually be is that the wrong vocal as well? Making sure I'm not deleting things that I shouldn't delete. You know, that's our actual vocal. So we'll leave that there. Lead vocal. We've then got some guitars here. We have a left guitar and a right guitar. Now I've realized that this little piece of this needs to come down a little bit. I'll show you what that's all about in a moment. But these are our main guitars that go throughout. So let's just take a listen to some of these as we go. So if we build out the track from the start. So here's our little guitar riff that we start with. Sounds like this. One over here on the left, and a different tone on the right. I'll show you those tones and we'll play with those as we go through here. We then have, at the end here, we have the fast guitar left and right, which are almost identical tones to this one and this one, but you'll see why we have those a little bit later. We've got some drums here, and these are the drums for the very end fast section. Now, I'm not liking that we've got that icon there, so we're going to change the icon. If you don't use icons, very, very cool. If you've just got something like this, but you know it's a drum, let's come in and make this our drums. So we'll do that one because that looks like some fast, shiny drums that we'll put on there. So that way we know that's our drums, and this is our fast section for these two that will go along at the end. We've then got some lead guitar. So I've been fiddling around with a little lead guitar. I've played a little Pearl Jam style riff in here. It sounds like this as we come through. We'll play around with that tone. It's not quite right at the moment. We'll mess about with it. Right, so here's the drum tracks. Now, shout out to Jade Starr, who has recorded these drum tracks. You can see here that there are the original drums that are muted out there, and then Jade has done me a solid here. She's split out the kicks, the snare, the toms, the hats, the crashes, the ride. They're all there, and she's even thrown in a bass part. Now, you may have noticed here that I've got Jade's bass in here, not my bass. That's because hers was better. There's some components of mine that I want to include and some components of Jade's. So I'm actually going to go back. This is going to be a demo demo version, but I'm going to go back and re-record the bass because I want to blend those together. But Jade's bass is sounding pretty funky in here. Some nice slides going on there. I love that. I'm going to steal that there. Dong, dong. The octaves there sound really good on there. We've then got these. I showed these before. We've got some organ, some evolving color synths, some pop strings, and then a little lead section. So these just add a little bit of flavor to the second half in particular of our track. So if we come and take a listen. Kind of gives it that, it sounds a bit 80s with just this, but if we bring this back in with the rest of our sounds, we get it like this. So that's just to mix up the first verse and the second verse. So that's what we've got in there. That is all of our tracks. What I'm now going to do is go through and we're going to start working out how we kind of mix this together. And I was thinking about what I do with this to try and mix it. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to go faders down. So we're going to do this. I do have that version 6 that you saw before that we can come back and have a look at. But just so that we can kind of balance out the levels and get everything sounding right, let's go faders down on this sucker now. Yes, because you're watching over my shoulder on this one, you have to watch me do this. Normally I cut this sort of stuff out. But you get to see the fun behind the scenes stuff that goes on. Right, those two don't matter, but we'll fader down them anyway. So there you go. All of our faders are down. Let's jump in and get started. Now, there's a few ways to approach this. What I could do is grab the drums and the bass. That's where most people start with a faders down mix. You get your drums at the right level. I sometimes do that. Sometimes I go a different way. Today, I'm feeling like going a different way. I'm going to go with my guitars first because they are the main part. I'm actually going to mix in guitars and vocals and then build the rest of the track around the guitars and vocals. Again, no one way to do things in music, whatever works for you. So we've got our left and our right. Now I'm going to bring this one down here. And I'm actually going to rename this one because what this is there's a section right here at the end where this guitar comes back in. So this is going to be guitar center ending like that. We'll hit on that one. Sorry, you're going to get clearing my throat and everything here. So here's my two guitar parts. Now you can see here, one was recorded louder, the second one than the first one. The first guitar, if we bring this on and bring it on up, I've already panned it left because I want this to be a left and a right guitar situation. If we come in here to my mix, this is using the original guitar, the Brownstone amplifier. So I'm using the guitar amp sim. If we tap on that one, you can see there's what we've got there. We've got the drive pedal on there. That's the bass tone that we're going with. And then we're panning left here, plugins and EQ wise. Just got the noise gate on there. And we've EQ'd here. We've carved out a little bit around the 500, carved out a bit at the low end, and we've given it a boost here in the treble end. So all of that, if we come back to our track view, all of that work has resulted in this guitar tone, which I kind of like. Let me know what you think of this guitar tone and if there's anything I need to do with it. Sounds like this. Cool, yeah. And I've got the echo and the reverb, probably a little bit too much on there. I'm just going to bring those back a little bit on the overall track. I kind of mix as I go, as you'll see in this. So we'll just play again. That's a bit better. Still got a bit of that reverb. And you can hear a little bit coming over to the right side because the echo here uses a stereo echo. Remember, every track in GarageBand is a stereo track, for better or worse. Let's bring up the other guitar now. So we'll solo this one out. This is doing the same thing. So we're using a doubling of guitars. You can double guitars, double vocals, anything that you want to get a nice sort of stereo effect or a bit of thickness, you double it up. So let's bring this guitar up. This one sounds like this. That's sounding way too harsh, isn't it? Here we are. So again, we need to dial down these. That's sounding too harsh. We need to come in here to the EQ. I think I've already kind of tried to pair it off a little bit, but it was sounding too harsh on that one. Let's try and play this again. Now I'm using Tone Bridge with this one, so if we come into Tone Bridge here, we've got the, the Pearl Jam glorified G effect here. So what I can actually do is play around a little bit and maybe go a little bit less of this effect and see if that's going to just soften it a bit. Yeah, something like that's going to be good. Now, on their own, neither of these guitar tones sound super good, but what I'm hoping is that when we bring these together, we're going to get something like this. And what you're noticing there is that because this one was recorded at the top, much quieter than the one at the bottom, I'm having to splay out those. Now, I could do some changes here. I could change the actual volume of these to get them a little bit more level, but we're going to go with it for now. These may or may not make it to the final mix. This is a demo recording and a demo mix. But remember, sometimes your demo stuff, if it sounds good enough, it goes in. That's the way I go anyway. So there you go. Now I have already pre-done some stuff down here. The reason this is split up, not only because I did multiple takes, is I've also brought this down 3.5 dB there. This one's down 3.5 dB because you can see those waveforms are much bigger. So when we get to this sort of section, to make sure these are aligned, and you don't need things to be exactly kind of centered in middle, but you can see here that when you're looking on this meter at the top here, if you're on an iPad, if you're on an iPhone, you won't see this, but on the iPad you will. You can see that it's basically centered. You don't want it leaning too far one way or the other with guitars. So you can probably kind of see why I'm doing the guitars first, because I want to make sure that they are sitting in the right spot and at the right level as well in the mix here, because we do need to make sure we have things leveled out. Let's continue on here. Oh, the other thing I have done, let's just come here. I've used the FX Master Track hack. If you search Pete John's volume hacks, you'll find how I do this. At the moment, it's at 0 dB there, but that's just going to give me some headroom that if everything ends up being slightly too loud, but it's perfectly balanced, I could just bring this on down. We'll leave it at 0 dB for now, but that's something to keep in mind. Let's come on back to our guitars. So that's our first two guitars there. We've then got, we're going to build this up by soloing each track. We've then got these fast guitars at the end. So if you've heard the track before, what happens is it kicks along here at 140 BPM and then it kicks in here at 200 BPM. So these are basically the same guitar tones again. So we're going to guesstimate that they're going to need to sit around about the same spots there. Let's just listen to this transitioning into this and see how it sounds here. These ones fade out, these two, and then in come. Yeah, about there. I know it sounds like a frenzied mess here at the moment, but we're going to get there. So that is our guitars there. Now, I do have this final bit. This is a centered guitar. So this one here is in the middle, and this is one that I want some sort of different effects on, because at the very end here, what's going to happen, in fact, we can clip off the front here, because you can see that it just sort of comes in quietly there, is when it does this big final power chord here, we want this guitar to come back in playing our little intro outro part. So let's just listen to this last bit. Helps if you turn the volume up. Let's listen to that last bit again. Now there's something I want to do here with the effects on this one. So what I'm actually going to do, we're going to up the reverb on this one to start with, just to give it that distant, far away kind of feel. I think, have I already put the wider plug-in? I have. So I've already got this stereo width plug-in. I'm actually going to push it all the way out to 100%. If you haven't tried out Infected Mushrooms wider plug-in, you should. It's cool. So now what we're going to do, we'll listen to this transition, and what it should do at the end, we should have these reverberant, echoey, distant guitars coming in for this little last section. Let's zoom on in and take a listen to this last little bit. Yeah, cool. And we might even on that one use a bit of an EQ effect here where we do this sort of radio style where it kind of, I don't know if this is going to sound good, but we're going to try it. Let's just do that. Yeah, that could be cool. So what we're basically doing is removing all the low end of this and ramping it up here, and using the visual EQ you can do this. I can pull it further up. We'll just try it with this, just so that it's like got that contrast of that big booming end and then coming back into that. Let's try it. Yeah, we'll leave that in for now. We'll play the whole song at the end. Should have said that at the start, but we will play the whole song at the end once we get things sorted out. So there you go. We've got our guitar mix in there. What I'm going to do now is grab my scratch vocals, which are these ones just above here, and I'm going to start blending in the vocals here to get these at about the right level, just so that we can work out where these go. Now, these are definitely scratch vocals. They're not that great. I do need to work on the tone a little bit. I've added the DLO1 delay plugin to this one, which is making it sound pretty good. And I think, yeah, I've got a little bit of reverb. I'll give it a little more reverb just to disguise how average these vocals are sounding, and then we'll come in and listen to these. Now, as we're progressing, we're soloing things into the mix now, so I'm not listening in solo to each of these instruments, and that's reasonably important because at this point, I know what they sound like. I've done most of the processing here. Might be some tweaks, but we want to listen to them in the context of the mix, so any changes I make are not based on listening to one instrument. They're based on how it comes into the mix. So let's take a listen as we come in with these original vocals. Hesitation, the fear of change have paralyzed you and made you doubt yourself. Cultivation of new ideas. So what you can see is we've got a compressor, some pretty heavy compression with the threshold down pretty low and some ratio on there. Again, there's a playlist called GarageBand Essentials down in the description. After this one, if you're thinking, what's compression, what's drive, how do I mix vocals particularly, there's a heap of videos in that playlist that you can check out. So if you want a bit of a refresher or if you've never done this before, I've got a little overdrive on there just to give it some grit. I've got that delay on there again to give it a little delay sound. And then I tend to use the EQ, the echo and the reverb. Let's just see if we need to do any EQing. I'm just going to use the standard visual EQ here on the demo to see if there's any bits in this vocal that are sticking out to me. We'll come to this next section. There's a new beginning, ready if you want it. All you gotta do is open up your mind. So I've just removed a little bit of that kind of nasally mid-range that I tend to have in my vocals. So that's a good way to do it. Sweeping your vocals, lift it up, find the frequency you don't like, and just remove a little bit of it. You know, it doesn't have to be hard, this stuff. Again, EQ is just a volume dial for different frequencies. Keep that in mind. You'll EQ your stuff. So again, you can see how rough we're coming together with this. We're just finding a good balance. Now let's come in here to another section, shall we? Come down a bit further just so that we can make sure that things are still sitting okay later in the mix. We're not going to do automation and a lot of that sort of stuff at this point. That comes later in the mix process. But let's play down here. Full bar. When you feel you're not prepared for what's coming next, you should know we all relate. No one ever sees it coming. Sounding okay. The vocals are sitting a little on top, but not too far on top, and they're not buried either. We need to find that balance. And we may tweak these. Once we add in the drums and the bass and the other virtual instruments, we may need to tweak these a little. So there you go. We've got guitars and we've got our vocals. Now, there's a guitar that I didn't show before. It's this lead guitar down here. So we do have a little lead section, which I've chopped up here. I tried a bunch of lead stuff, and then this is what we ended up with. So if we play this, we'll come down here to our lead guitar. Now, I've tried putting this flanger on. I didn't like it. I do love the Nembrini flanger. I didn't love this flange effect that we had here. So I'm going to take that off for now and just keep it a little bit more pure with just the delay on there. Let's take a listen to this. We'll turn it up, and then we'll bring it down on into the mix. Oh Yeah, cool. I think we just need a bit more echo. So we'll just use, not echo, reverb. We'll use our master reverb, again, just to glue this mix together and make it sound a little cooler. We'll play this back again with the reverb on there now. Hesitation. You can see there where I've cut it off. So I may need to replay that and just let that last note ring out. But again, we're putting a demo together. This is what we want to do. Trial and error until you get there. Right. We're building up with our soloed tracks and getting somewhere here. Drum time, right? Let's bring in some drums. So, because Jade is awesome, she has brought in our drums, and we've got kick and snare, and then the rest of our stuff, our double kicks here as well when we get to the double kick section. So what we'll do, we'll start playing these with just the kick and snare, and we'll get those sitting right, because they are indeed your two most important drums. So we'll hit play, and I'll dial these in until we get the kick and snare sitting in the right spot. Hesitation and fear of change. Now that we've got the kick and snare, you can see up the top here, see how this this is why you need to start. People are looking at this going, Pete, you've mixed these pretty low. Nothing's anywhere near the top. If anything, I've probably mixed them too high, and I will need to very quickly go to my master fader trick in a moment. But that's okay. We'll continue on here, and we'll find our spot here. So now what I'll do is I'll dial in the toms, well, dial in the hats, in fact, next. So we'll hit the button here and play the hats. Cymbals. Hesitation and fear of cultivation of new ideas can make a difference to you and those you. So yeah, I'm very much mixing a little loud here, so I am going to come on back, and I am going to grab those, and we're going to tap on this visual EQ, and then we'll bring this on down. We'll give ourselves 5 more dB on the main master, because you can see it's starting to really push up there. Oh, I got a text message. Let's just make sure it's nothing important. No, nothing. It's all good. Cool. All right, let's move on. And from here, we just moved on. I'm actually going to take a quick break to wet the whistle, and then I will be back. You won't miss anything, but I'll be back to finish off the rest of these instruments on this mix. All right, back in business. Let's zoom on in here. Now that we've removed a little bit, let's just play a loud section and make sure that we're not way up here on the meter. It's coming for you. Ready or not. So you can see there that instantly we've got it back to a nice manageable level, and that's the cool thing about using this hack. If we come back here and show you this at 0 dB, let's take a look at what it's doing there. It's coming for you. Ready or not. Just makes it more manageable, and trust me, when you get to the point where you're exporting it and then you want to master it, having that additional headroom is going to be gold and super important. Righty dokie, let's add in the bass. So this is Jade, I think she said like noodling bass, Jade bass test. So clearly a bit of a test track. It's pretty good though. So most of it is sounding good. Like I said, I'm totally stealing some of the parts that Jade has put in here. So if we play now, we'll bring the bass in, I'll make it loud, and then we'll blend it back. It's a good way to kind of find the right level for something. Hesitation, a fear of change, a paralyzed. Cool, that's about where we want at the moment. Probably need a little more on that kick drum, yeah? Not hearing quite enough kick, so let's give it a little more kick, a little more snare. Again, we can tweak this over time. This isn't our final mix by any stretch. This is our rough mix to get us ready to go. But you'll be surprised how much of this static mix at the demo phase you use. Even if you don't use the exact tracks, you use the techniques and you use the effects that you've put on now. Don't think you have to go back to a blank slate. A lot of what you do in the demo can actually be in your final track too. And that's what makes life fun. Righty dokie, all we need to do now is add in our final sections. So we've got all of these virtual instruments that we need in here. In fact, I'll add them one by one, just so that we can make sure we hear them. And again, I'm going to use a similar method here, but I'm going to do it in the second verse from here so that we can hear them when they're at their loudest, so that they'll sit nicely in the mix in this second part, which is where they need to do their work. So we'll bring the organ in, we'll turn it up, and then we'll work out what we need to do. Open up your mind. Hesitation, going nowhere fast. You will never. Yeah, so because it's a very full mix, you can only barely hear the organ over there on the right. We may need to turn some other stuff down. We'll work out what we need to do. Let's bring in these evolving colors bass sounds, shall we now? Again, we'll do the turn it up again. You'll hear these at the bottom in the bass. By the way, the organ, yeah, our panning, we have it panned sort of half to the right. We've got this bassy sound here in the middle. So let's take a listen to this. Open up your mind. Cool, let's grab our synth pop strings and do the same treatment with these suckers. We'll bring them up. Hesitation, going nowhere fast. So again, you just want those in the background. They're a pad sound. You don't want them front and center, but they do have to be pretty loud because I've mixed everything else a little bit too loud. That's okay. We're going to go with it. We'll jump in here and take a look at this final one, which is this little lead sound. Again, we'll turn it up and play. Going nowhere fast. Alrighty, so we've got this sort of coming together here. We've got our static mix getting close to where we want it. We've got our vocal up here, we've got our guitars there. All we need to do now is come into this final fast section. So what we need to do is work out these drums are kind of placeholders. I've just brought them in over here from Anders. So the way I did this is, in fact, I'll show you. I'll show you the way I did this because you may want to do something yourself. So what you'll notice here is that until this point, we're right on the metronome, yeah? So if we play this final section here, your beginning starts now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, left. We're way off, right? So nothing from here onwards has anything to do with the metronome or the grid. So all I've done is I've created a track. If we come out here, we'll close out of that one. If you look at this one, we've got this song timbre fast. It's just Anders, it's a drummer track, and it's just doing this. And this one over here is at 220. I thought it was 200. My goodness, no wonder it's fast. I thought it was 200 BPM. I made it 220. So it goes from 140 to 220. And I've exported this 220 BPM WAV file. And all I've done is exported it there and brought it in as a WAV file into this part. So now we've got that exact same part in here with our two guitars. Sounds like this. And what we need to do is balance out. So these guitars probably need to be louder in this section because there's nothing else sort of with them. And I don't even have the bass. Jade didn't brave the bass in this part, and my original bass part for this part was completely terrible. So we've got no bass in here at the moment. We will have to add that in here for the final version of the demo, but we're getting close. So let's just play these and balance out the guitars and drums, shall we? Going nowhere. You will never break the chains or feel the pain or all the change unless you take a chance to reach out for the next thing you begin. So this is going to be a really hard bit to mix because I'm going to have to try and tame it, keep it, use probably some compression in the final mix to keep things like loud, but not so loud that they're peaking, because you can hear at the moment it's just a little bit too loud. So I'm going to bring these two guitars down, going to bring these drums down a bit. My vocals are probably okay, but you can see that they're pretty loud there too. So I'm going to cut and put a split here, and then we'll just see when we transition between these, because these vocals may need to come down as well. So just to balance out, now, yes, I have made things more difficult for myself in a number of ways, but that's the fun, right? Experimentation, have some fun, do your thing. So let's listen to this transition from the slow part to the fast part, and we'll see if we can balance these out and level out these sounds here now. Your beginning starts now. Hesitation, going nowhere. You will never break the chains or feel the pain or... It's not bad, right? It's come through okay, and I think that's all right. Let's just listen to the very end here and just see if this transitions over from here to there. So we'll come to this last little bit. Now! 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 Cool. And there's that guitar we talked about at the start. That is that distant, sort of more treble heavy guitar, because we removed a bunch of the bass there. It's coming together. I'm reasonably happy. I had a moment yesterday, and I almost made a video just saying, I don't want to do it anymore. But I had a moment yesterday where I hated this song. Everyone has that moment about halfway through a song where you're just like, this song is terrible. This will never come together. I hate this song. But now... I've made amends. I now like this song, and hopefully in the next 15 days, the rest of Songtember, I will mix and master and release this song and love it, or at least tolerate it. That's the main thing. So let's now that we've done all of that, why don't we finish off by, I'll throw down this mic. I will just play this through, and if you would like to, leave a comment in this video and let me know. What do you think? Are there things that you should add? I want to know your ideas of what should go, what should stay, what should be added. Anything that you think about is the levels, the panning, the effects, the tones. Go at it. This is your opportunity. Before I cement this down as a demo and start re-recording some parts and start mixing in earnest, this is your opportunity to tell me, what do you think of this? What sucks, what rocks, and what's somewhere in between? So let's go back to the start of the track, and I'll turn down my mic. We'll come in here to the start, and we will hit play and take a listen. Here you go. The first playing of the demo version of my Songtember. It's going to have to be called New Beginning, I think, because that's kind of what it's become about, or beginning, maybe. But we'll workshop that. All right, I'm going to turn my mic down, hit play, and let's take a listen. you doubt yourself? Cultivation of new ideas can make a difference to you and those you care about. There's a new beginning, ready if you want it. All you gotta do is open up your mind. Hesitation, going nowhere fast. You will never break the chains that hold you back. And motivation to be yourself should be the answer that lets you live your life. Coming for you, ready or not, full bore. When you feel you're not prepared for what's coming next, you should know we all relate. No one ever sees it coming. It's a new beginning. Your beginning starts now. Hesitation, going nowhere. You will never break the chains or feel the pain or all the change unless you take a chance to reach out for the next thing. New beginning, new beginning. Go, 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 go right now, 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 now. Rock on, folks. Be kind to yourself and to others. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.